Super excited here to be joined by Collin Wiles, a pitcher, MLB free agent, currently or previously was with the Oakland Athletics. Also joined by Lane Fry, another baseball content creator. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, and like I said, Colin, hyped to get you on. Long time coming. It's been a couple of months, or I feel like it's been a couple of months since we kind of first reached out to each other. Since then, you've gone through. You obviously had some surgery. You want to talk about that and kind of discuss like the whole rehab process and everything that's kind of going on with that?
Yeah, so I mean, it goes back to the end of last season in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
Got hurt, had a little shoulder thing, whatever, got MRI. Kind of just the typical run around, like yeah, there's some damage in there, but everyone
Yeah.
has damage in the shoulder. A lot of inflammation, so got that all knocked out. Was feeling good, wasn't throwing anything, and then once throwing kind of ramped up in the off season, it just kind of came back a little bit. By that time, I had agreed to a contract with the Brewers, so they took me down to Arizona, got MRI. It revealed some more damage that I guess I wasn't anticipating in the slightest. So yeah, ended up needed labrum surgery. Posterior Bankart is what it's called. Got four anchors in there. No longer with the Brewers, and just rehabbing here in Gulf Breeze, Florida, at the Dr. James Andrews, his hospital, his institute thing here. So grinding away.
Dude, I was bummed, man. I was excited to see you here in Milwaukee. We can use some good relievers and starting pitching. And starters, I guess, actually. But either way, whatever they want you to do.
Anything. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, I got a question for you, Colin. So obviously, you prepared a long time for this. You finally make your debut, and then obviously some unfortunate things happen. The shoulder, then you get the surgery. How do you stay positive through it all? Because I know a lot of guys and a lot of like younger guys that follow me, they always ask like a lot of times they ask like what when it goes wrong, like what do I like? Why do I keep playing? Like what's like? I feel like everything's out of their control is hurting them more than they should be worrying about. And then I don't know how to explain it, but more like how do you keep a positive energy around you about it? Because obviously you worked your whole life, and then a little setback, it can get in the way. But if you don't let it get in the way, then you're just fine.
For sure. For me, it's simple. For me, it goes back to my faith. I'm a Christian, I'm a big believer in Jesus Christ. So everything the Bible tells me, Romans 8, all things work together for the good of those who are called according to the purpose. So little tidbits like that have kept me going my entire career, really. And so just being able to draw from that, being able to press into that, I think it helps me stay level, stay grounded, and not get like too caught up in the what ifs, right? Because I mean, I know after surgery, I fell victim to that. The what if this doesn't go right? What if something happens here? What if next year this and that and this and that? But it's like, no, you got to worry about what's today, what's the mission of today. And so just being able to stay grounded in that, being rooted in my faith, I think that's what's kept my head above water for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you think having Tommy John and surgery, a few years back kind of helps you go through this, like the second time through another rehab stint?
I think so. It definitely, so going through Tommy John, right, it's that shock of not playing.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, yeah, it'll help this time. This time has been a little scarier because obviously I don't have a team that's in charge of my rehab. But I do feel like I'm in really good hands. I feel like God worked his hand in all of this because my wife and I, we moved down to Florida this off season just to get a Florida house, right? And it wasn't until after we closed on the house, after we were already moved in, that I found out I needed surgery. So it just kind of hit me like upside the head with, hey, now you got this house, and by the way, you're not going to have a job. But no, thankfully, Dr. Andrews Institute is 20 minutes right down the road, and obviously Dr. Andrews is a legend in the game of orthopedic surgeries and stuff like that. So no, it's been really cool just to kind of navigate, I guess, that aspect of it, going from the fear of, oh my gosh, I don't have a job, I don't have a team to rehab me, to now it's like, okay, well, I know I'm in a good spot, I'm in good hands, and I can just kind of clear my head of all those worries.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I kind of asked you this on Instagram actually, and I've talked to guys who are rehabbing. They'll pick up like different hobbies like cooking, golfing. I guess you can't really golf right now, but, or gaming, whatever it may be. And you mentioned that you have a ton of hobbies. Like, what do you do? Like, how are you keeping yourself busy? Because obviously you're watching the guys in spring training, you're watching the boys do what they're doing, the WBC, and then you're kind of just here, like taking as an observer. What do you do to keep yourself busy?
For sure. So I forget, I don't know what year it was, but I randomly fell in love with European soccer.
Oh, okay.
So I watched Liverpool pretty religiously. After Drive to Survive came out on Netflix, I've immersed myself, I guess, in the F1 scene as well. Watching golf on TV, just a lot of like weird kind of outside the box sports and that aren't really watched a whole lot in the United States. They kind of just like just give me like an outlet, right? So like
Yeah.
if I in my free time, I'm reading about Liverpool and like Liverpool soccer, and it's like that's so outside of my
Yeah.
profession, outside of really anything that I was raised doing, right? So just stuff like that, and obviously like I have video games here, and the house has been nice because we got a big yard. Dogs can go run, so just little stuff like that to keep myself occupied, my mind off of missing baseball.
It's probably a better place. Probably could be worse places to rehab than Florida, especially around this time of year.
You are correct in that. That's for sure.
Yeah, because we're supposed to get snow here in Wisconsin tomorrow, and it's almost April.
That sounds not too much fun for me.
So I was gonna ask because I read that you're taking the year off, hoping to get ready for the 24 season. That's correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Base.
just not having a team, right? I mean, if a team wants to come along and they want to pick up rehab,
Okay, so you are. I didn't know
yeah.
if you were just planning on taking the year off, making it like a rehab year to get right for 24.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's say you do. Are you throwing to live ABs wherever when you are up to that? Obviously, you're still rehabbing whatnot, but what does that time off look like? Even in the off season, like what does your time off look like in terms of working out, throwing programs? How do you delegate how much you're throwing and how to amp it up for the season?
For sure. To answer the first part of the question, if everything goes to plan, I believe we've been in talks with a few teams, and it's just the feedback that I've gotten is kind of like, oh, we're like it's really early in the rehab process right now, but once we get further along into like the live BPs or like the bullpen stage, then that's when teams would kind of have more interest. That way, they could just pick up on the back half of the rehab and just kind of go from the mound progression and stuff like that. Because at that point, I'd be closer to playing. But in normal off season, no. Ever since Tommy John, I've been that guy that I don't really stop my throwing.
Yeah.
So yeah, after the season, it won't be a lot. It'll be like backyard catch, right? Or even just tossing a football around. It's beneficial to like strengthening shoulders and stuff like that. Workouts and stuff, kind of get flexible with that. So the last 6 years, my wife and I have been in Arizona. We've been fortunate. We got a good spot there, working out and throwing and everything like that. All of my family and all of the majority of her family lives back in Kansas City. So when we're back in Kansas City, you got a gym there that I can go to. And then obviously here being in Florida, we have a gym like 2 minutes away from us and stuff like that. And then haven't got a chance to yet, but I plan on reaching out to like high schools around here. There's a couple of indoor facilities. I know one in Pensacola and one in Fort Walton Beach. It's like 20 minutes away that probably be in contact with as well, just to see like what kind of like training stuff that they offer and stuff like that. So just try to be as flexible as I can, given the circumstances and where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Hey, let's take it back to kind of the beginning and stuff. Looking at your starting off in high school and stuff, you were the number 6 overall like high schooler in your state of Kansas. Dude, I'm not really a stats guy, but I was looking at your stats here, dude. 8-0 with a .10 ERA in your senior year. When did you kind of realize, I'm a little bit nastier than the average kid in my state here?
My senior year. It happened. Everything happened really late. So that's a lot of people I talk to is like, man, you probably recruited as a freshman, this and that. And it's like, no.
Really?
Everything happened my junior summer going into my senior year. That's when it like picked up really, really big time. That's when we were at, I don't know which tournament we were in Georgia or something. And I threw a game there. Vanderbilt coach was there, liked what he saw, was in contact with Vanderbilt from that day forward. Then the next week, TCU came along, and it was that kind of same thing too. Up until that point, the biggest school that I had on me was Kansas State. And I grew up obviously in Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas. My dad played baseball at University of Kansas. My mom played basketball at University of Kansas. The University of Kansas never even sent me so much as like a recruiting letter. And I would go to their camps every summer, every year. But yeah, nothing, no love. So up until my junior summer, going into my senior year, I kind of had my heart set on the Kansas State, which is good, like a
Yeah.
D1 program, Big 12. But yeah, no, it was just one tournament in July that Vanderbilt coach saw me, and then a TCU coach saw me, and then everything just kind of accelerated from there.
That's insane. Like I've heard that story before. I talked to guys like Antonio Menendez with the Royals.
Yeah,
The Rays. He said that he had no offers. He pitched that one tournament and he had like 30 offers the next day. It's crazy how fast it can all kind of come about.
for sure. After that happened, right? I commit to Vanderbilt in the fall of my senior year. The Royals did like this Royals scout team type thing, and we went down to, I believe, Jupiter in a wood bat tournament, pitched there, and then that's when like pro interest started, and then that crept all the way and up until the draft, really. And I didn't even know that the Rangers were going to draft me when they did. I found out when it came across the TV and the guy announced my name, and oh yeah, it was a whole spectacle. It was pretty cool. They had called my agent and told my agent, but my agent said he wanted me to just witness it live. So
wow.
I'm thankful for him for that because it was awesome. It was cool.
No, that's kind of what I was going to get into. So obviously, most people don't get the chance to play at D1. Most high schoolers don't, but you already have that recruiting process, and then you see the draft day rumors start, I guess, circulating, or you start coming in contact with pro scouts. How does that change the way you think? Like, I know some people let it get to them, some people don't. Was it something you thought about, or were you worried about it, or were you just taking it one step at a time? If you go D1, then draft, if that's even a possibility, or you just focusing on getting to the next level? How'd you handle all that? Because obviously at 18 or whatever years old, like that's a lot of pressure, especially if you're talking first round. Like that's a lot of pressure putting on a young guy's back.
Sure. I think I'm just not too smart as a kid and even now because it never really affected me. I remember my first start in high school, looking back, like literally on the mound, about to throw my first pitch, and there's like 20 radar guns pointing back at me. And I've never been a big velo guy anyway, so I remember like kind of laughing to myself, like, oh, what are they hoping to see here? Like they're gonna see 87, 89, or 80, maybe touch 90, 91. But no, yeah, that all that stuff never really affected me whatsoever, which is kind of crazy sitting here and talking about it. But because obviously, like you said, there are a lot of kids that came out of Kansas a couple of years after me, whatever, that just talking to them, that they said the same thing. Like, oh man, I saw those radar guns, and all of a sudden I couldn't throw a strike, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, and it's like, oh, I never had any of that for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's kind of like just let whatever happens, and
yeah,
it'll all work out how it's supposed to.
For sure.
So you had no idea you're going to get drafted. Like you had to have like in the back of your mind because you got drafted first round. Obviously, I think obviously by the Rangers. Like, did you have a draft party at all? Like, did you have people over? Like, what was that whole environment like?
Yeah, so I shouldn't say that I didn't know I was going to be drafted. There was like a pre-draft agreement with the Royals and later than the first day.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say that I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about that still, even though we're 11 years past whatever. But anyway, so there was that. But then there were rumors that the Rangers, the Blue Jays, something could happen on the first day of the draft. Obviously, the first round, the supplemental rounds.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that I didn't know, that if it was going to happen or not going to happen. So yeah, I ended up having, say, about 15 of my high school friends over. My parents had a couple of their friends over, and it was just there like, hey, it could happen. It could not. We have no idea. So if you want to come, great. But if it doesn't happen, like, don't be awkward. Don't be that like, oh man, I'm so sorry it didn't happen. Like, it'll all be all right. Yeah, just sitting there, and I guess the rumor has it that Rangers had called my agent before our pick, and I don't know, they talked about something, and all that I heard was basically like, no, it's not going to happen. And so I was like, oh man, okay, that sucks. Keep going, and it gets to pick 53, and I remember sitting there watching it, like, and I was thinking like, man, I think this was the pick, that like it could have been me, but whatever, let's see who they take. And it came across, and we select high school pitcher, Overland Park, Kansas, Collin Wiles, whatever, and like all the people at my draft party just jumped on top of like a big dog pile. It was cool. It was a lot of fun.
That's incredible. And obviously, like, how upset was the Vandy coach when he had to let him know, like, hey, dude, I'm from a first rounder now. I'm not a Vandy boy.
I think he was very upset. I called him to tell him the news and didn't answer my call. I left him a
What?
voicemail, didn't return any messages, anything like that. And then saw in the paper, the press, whatever, a couple of days later that he basically was just bashing me and Matt Olson, saying it's
What?
the biggest mistake that we'll make in our careers, and that going to school is like the best way to go about it. And so yeah, I mean, that
It's
was a
got to
whole
get
like
used to it, though.
crazy like spectacle. Like
Jeez.
I didn't expect that whatsoever, because at the same time it's like, yeah, like I went higher than I thought I was going to. The money was over slot, like it was more than I thought. It just kind of seemed like a perfect storm for like, yeah, of course. But
I might have to find get a video of your debut and just send it to him in the email. Be like, hey, it all worked out okay.
no, I mean it's worked out for both of us. I know if I would have been in school, I would have had a World Series ring, some SEC rings, and stuff like that too. And I still keep in touch with some of those guys. So it worked out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Is there a round that you would have gone and it would have been like, is there a round that you would have been picked where you think, okay, I'm just going to go to Vandy? Or is there like, if I'm top 5, I'm going to go to MLB or go pro? If not, I'm just going to go to school. Was there like a draft in your or spot in your mind where you're thinking that?
Yeah. So my year was actually, that was the first year with the I don't know what they call it, like the slot, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
if the Rangers would have drafted me and I wouldn't have signed, the Rangers would have lost all that money.
Yeah.
So that was the first year that teams were going through that. So it was kind of the thing where, hey, we need to know that you're going to sign before we draft you in these top 10 rounds. Otherwise, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
lose all that money, and we don't want to do this. Now you kind of see it'll happen like 1 or 2 times a year. I don't know if it happened in 2012. I know that like teams were very like they were trying to figure out how it was going to work,
Yeah.
right? And so they were trying to make sure that the guys they drafted were going to sign. And I had made that clear to a few teams. Like we had a number that we had in our mind, and we kind of
Mm-hmm.
set it a little higher, just try to scare off all like the teams that were like, oh, like maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
But then yeah, there was like 3 or 4 that stuck around, and then made sure to let them know like, hey, yeah, if this happens, like you don't have to worry about me going to school. So
Wow.
that was like backroom like politic type stuff. It was kind of fun to go through
It's
now.
so
Looking
crazy
back at it.
how it's crazy how the MLB draft works because it's so different than like NFL, NBA, like any other pro league. It's like people get drafted above slot, or they'll try to save money and draft somebody here or senior sign. Just the whole politics of like
Mm-hmm.
MLB draft is just something so fascinating. I don't think the everyday fan kind of realizes like all the intricacies that kind of work behind the scenes.
Was Corbin the head coach at Vandy when you were getting recruited? He
Yeah,
was
he
there, right?
was. And
Yeah.
yeah. And that was another thing that played into that, like me signing, was right before the draft. Vanderbilt they had switched coaches. So Derek Johnson was pitching coach, who is very influential in recruiting me, and then Josh Holiday as well. Josh Holiday, I love that guy. He's fantastic. He was a recruiting coordinator and I think offensive something with Vanderbilt. But he left to take the head coach job at Oklahoma State, and then DJ left to do something in pro ball. So it was kind of was like that perfect storm too, of like the two guys that were really influential in recruiting me left. So and now the Rangers are coming in with this. Like
Yeah.
it just kind of made sense in my mind. Like yeah, I'll just go ahead, sign, and start my career. So
Yeah. You talk about that signing bonus. Obviously, we don't need to say the number, talk about another man's money and all that. But what was that first dumb thing you bought? Because obviously you get a decent signing bonus. You're 18. You just graduated high school. You probably went from no money in your bank account to now you got a ton. What was that first big dumb purchase that you made?
I wasn't giving my money. My parents and my grandpa, they kind of took it away from me,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't get to buy that something. But I mean, I did get to. I bought myself a car. That's what I did. I bought it new, which I'll never make that mistake ever again. I was told not to. Don't buy a new one, buy a used one, whatever the depreciation, all that stuff.
Yep.
Didn't listen. Hard headed. Um, I bought an Audi S5 little coupe, which I ended up trading it in 3 years later because it was too small, and I knew it was too small when I bought it, but it was fun to drive, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, this will be fun. But no, that was like the only thing that I bought. So
So you go from high school all the way to the minors. You started in rookie ball and all that kind of stuff. How was the minor leagues for you? Obviously, you were there for a bit. Do you have any funny minor league stories where you talk? I thought the guys were like, I had bed bugs in my mattresses, or like cockroaches in the pillowcases, like raw frozen chicken for the spread. Like, what is like your funny, like grindy-esque minor league story?
Maybe high A. We played in the California League. We were in High Desert, which isn't the best place to play, to say the least.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if it was Bakersfield or something, but the showers after the game had flooded, and they flooded over the wall. So the whole bottom of the clubhouse was just in shit, like dirty shower water. Even as you're like, you have your nice clothes and you're getting dressed and you're squishing your way through other people's dirty shower waters. That's probably like the one time that I looked around and was like, man, like this sucks. Like, it's ridiculous. Everything else is, yeah, it's not glamorous. It's not good, but I mean, it's all part of it, right? But no, dirty shower water on my like nicer clothes is
yeah, not ideal.
No, yeah, for sure.
What would be your, obviously you probably played in a ton of different cities. A lot of these smaller cities that only have minor league teams, they still go crazy for baseball. What's been like the best baseball city or your favorite city to go play in?
So I have a few for different reasons. I've liked everywhere that I've played. Even High Desert, like, it had its purpose. It served its purpose. Yeah. I'll just go back to High Desert. Like, High Desert, the environment sucks. You're in altitude, you're in a desert, the wind blows straight out. And it's just kind of one of those things where I remember after the season, Oscar Marin was our pitching coach. He's now with the Pirates, big league pitching coach. And we ended up winning the championship that year. And the year before that, in 2015, we won the championship in low A. So there were a lot of the same guys. So we went back to back, if you will. But the championship that we won in High Desert was so much more meaningful because that place was so like against us as pitchers that it was kind of the thing where if we could survive that and do that, then we can go to Double A and play. We can go to Triple A and play because we spent a whole year in Adelanto, California, where the wind is blowing. I'm not kidding you. The flag would be stuck like this. Like, it's not even waving. It's just literally stuck like that because the wind's blowing so hard. So it's kind of one of those things where if we can do that there, we can survive anywhere. But Spokane was a lot of fun. I had a blast in Spokane because on a Tuesday night and short season ball, we'd have 6,500 people. And that's awesome. Yeah, really, really good environment, really good atmosphere. Hickory, North Carolina was a lot of fun because I actually repeated there. So I went there in 2014, got hurt in like May or something like that. So then that next year I went back and repeated low A. But that was a team, like I said, that we won the championship. And so just like the people around the stadium, people like the super fans, if you will, like they made it a lot of fun there. And what was the next? Oh, and Frisco. I don't know if you've ever been to Frisco. If not, you need to go check out their ballpark. They got a lazy river in right field. I mean, it's 35 minutes north of Dallas. I mean, it's everything you could ask for. It's like a AAA stadium, but they have it in AA.
That's awesome.
Everything there is great. Round Rock was awesome. They took really good care of us as far as like players and stuff like that. And then last year in Vegas is the nicest stadium in the minor leagues, and I don't know if you'll ever be able to change my mind. It is like from the clubhouses to the dugouts to the field, like it's a big league stadium in AAA. So yeah, I've been really fortunate to play in a lot of nice places. So
yeah, I was going to ask you about that. How was it playing in Vegas? Because obviously you're in Vegas. I talked to Jared Koenig about it. I'm like, dude, how hard is it for the guys to not just like go crazy? Because I have had Jared Koenig on the pod a couple of times. Also, teammate of yours last season in Vegas. Like, how was that environment? Like, did teams that were coming in, like, did those players like hit the strip and stuff? Like, what was that whole scene like in Vegas and playing in there?
So we were in Summerlin, which is probably 30 minutes off the strip.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less than that. But the visiting team hotel is a Red Rock Hotel and Casino. I mean, it belongs on a strip. It is nice enough to be on strip, whatever. But for us, is like playing in Vegas, I think it didn't really affect us as much as probably the teams that were coming in. I had friends, other teams that they came in and it was just like, man, we need to get this game over with. I got to go back to the blackjack table, or I got to do this. They got a pool party all day tomorrow, so
Jeez.
we got a show and go. Like I'm gonna be at the pool all day. But as far as like us that were in Vegas, it was kind of like, oh yeah, they do that every Tuesday, like whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it definitely affected the visiting teams more than it affected us.
Did Fran Reardon sit you guys down like before the season started and be like, "Hey guys, don't make any dumb decisions here"?
Yeah, for sure. And I think you have to do that, especially being there. Yeah, we had like our introduction meeting, whatever, and he was very clear. He's like, "Hey guys, like no one here is oblivious. Like, yes, we are in Las Vegas. Yes, all of you are over 21. You can go do whatever you want, but you're in charge of your actions. You're in charge of the outcomes. So be smart or don't. It's going to come back on you. It's not going to come back on me, anybody else." So he was very good about that, and it message received. No one got in trouble. Everyone was good. Like, yeah, it was good. It was a fun time.
So cool.
Yeah. So now I got another. This kind of off the wall question.
Sure.
Obviously, there's a lot of travel going on in minors, and then let's say like you were playing with Milwaukee, you had to go to LA. It's a long flight, long road trip. You stop at a gas station on the way to the facility. What are some must-haves for those long travel days, like snack-wise? Like some gas station essentials.
I'm too chunky to be eating gas station essentials, but
I feel that
4-pack of the Reese's, the king, the 1, 2, 3, 4 packs. Those are mine. Toss some sunflower seeds in there. That's a staple. Some barbecue sunflower seeds, maybe some ranch, but the ranch always cuts up the top of my mouth. So
yeah,
stay there, and then I don't know, some sort of pH water or whatever, because they got to be healthy, right? You got to keep your body in pH balance or whatever. Yeah. And I'm eating all those Reese's, but no, I'm not a super big snack guy. But yeah, those would be my 3 for sure.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, piggybacking off that, like in the bullpen, like what are you snacking on in the bullpen?
I'm so nervous in the bullpen. I'm not snacking on nothing. No, yeah, it's funny about the bullpen. So I got actually a little backstory here. So James Jones, who I played with the Rangers in AAA, he made big leagues as an outfielder with the Mariners, and then he converted to a pitcher, and he's been with the Rangers for I don't know how many, like 4 or 5 years. This year he's with the Dodgers. But anyway, I'm sitting in the bullpen in Round Rock. It was my first time ever being in the bullpen. And I remember the conversations we were having. Him and Jake Lemoyne were talking, and the whole idea behind it, he had just heard. I don't know who it was. I don't know which big name guy. I don't know if it was like Jocko Willick or one of those guys. But they kept talking about Murph, and well, you don't let Murph get you. Don't let Murph get you. And that's why I was just kind of like listening, trying to like stay focused on the game, because I had no idea what I was doing in the bullpen. I didn't know how to be ready, how to stay ready, anything. So I asked him to explain it, and he's like, whoever he was listening to explained it like this. He's like, Murph's always watching. Murph always knows. So as soon as you think, oh, I'm safe, or as soon as you think, oh, no, like it won't be me, Murph's going to get you. And so the whole thing was, don't let Murph get you. I think it came down, I don't know if it was a Navy SEAL thing or what, but you can imagine like the scenario that they had it with Murph, right?
Yeah.
So from that point on, I made it a mission of myself to not let Murph get me. So when I'm in the bullpen, I'm watching the game, trying to stay as locked in as possible. I'll drink water. I'll have my little bit of Red Bull, and that's about it. Because as soon as I feel like as soon as I sit back and kick my feet up with some sunflower seeds in and thinking like, oh no, I pitched yesterday, I pitched the day before, like that's not going to be me. It's going to be get Wiles hot, please. And I'm going to be panic mode, like, oh no, I'm not ready to go in. So I can credit those two guys for always keep me ready.
So before you jump in, are you a Red Bull guy? You mentioned that, or are you like a pre-workout guy? I've talked to guys who like literally drown themselves with water. They'll put water in their hands and then they sniff it to like give themselves that reaction of drowning, and then like jumps them and gets them awake. What do you do to get hyped up?
Maybe I don't drown myself. I haven't tried that one yet.
It was weird, and like, but I've heard several guys. It's a Marlins organization thing. Like a lot of the guys in the low A and high A Marlins, they all started doing that, and like it's weird, but hey, whatever works.
It gives me like claustrophobic feeling trying to get them out. No, so I'll have paint off, Advil, wrap it up in like a glove or something in my back pocket, take a Red Bull out with me with my bottle of water. Take that with me. When I get to the bullpen, take the paint off, take the Advil with the Red Bull, sip on that Red Bull, drink the Red Bull until I think I'm about to go in or whatever. Chug the rest of the Red Bull, and then just be sipping on water after that. So nothing crazy, just some Red Bull and some paint offs.
Speaking, because you said when you're in the bullpen, obviously routines are different for guys who are pitching every 5 days, or they don't know if they're going to pitch for five.
Sure.
Excuse me, sorry, they don't know if they're going to pitch for 10 days, and then they pitch 3 days in a row. How is the preparation different for you, especially coming off the TJ and now the labrum surgery? Like, what's that preparation sort of look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate in routines. I feel like I have a pretty good routine as a starter, and then I've had to modify, but I feel like I have a pretty good routine out of the bullpen as well. I try to keep them as close to each other as I can. The only thing that changes is when I start them. Obviously, with a starter, I got to go out 30 minutes before the game to be on the line and do all my stuff on the field. As in the bullpen, you don't get that luxury. But as far as like the weight room stuff, like the rolling out, the bands, the arm bike, the actual bike, all that kind of stuff, I try to keep that as similar as possible, and just move around the start times really.
Gotcha. So it's basically just same routine, just different time frames for whatever the situation may be.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about your call up. Obviously, you're grinding in the minors for I think 9-10 years before you get your call up.
Yep.
How did that go down? How did they let you know that you finally you're finally going to make your major league debut? Like, what was that whole emotional, and like, how did it all go down?
I got a cool story. Fran did a really good job. He's our AAA manager in Las Vegas, like you know. We were sitting there watching, I don't know who was playing, I can't remember, but it was college football, right? And talking about like bets on it, like, oh, this team was favored by this much, and look at the game, like, because you know we go through like the Vegas has it rigged because every game is hitting the same line, whatever. He like kind of came out of his office. We were just talking to somebody and was like, oh, Wiles, hey, I got some other bets. Other lines that I want you to look at in here in my office. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm talking to somebody. I'll get in there in a little bit. Finished my conversation with whoever I was talking to. I walk in the office and he had his phone down. He was like looking at his phone or doing something. He's like, oh, okay. Like, what do you think about this team? And I was like, oh, like maybe, like, I don't know. I just can't remember the teams. But it was kind of like that. And he's like, oh, there's just one bet that I really, really like. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'm all ears. Like, what do you think it is? Or like one line or whatever. He's like, well, if I was going to place a bet, I'd place a bet that Collin Wiles is going to be a big leaguer tomorrow. And I was just it was one of those things where he said it, and I heard it, and I was like, oh, like, I'm Collin Wiles. Like, wait, what? And it was kind of one of those moments, like, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
And he had a big smile on his face, and he stood up, and that's when he was like, congrats, man, you're going to the big leagues, and you've earned it, you deserved it, all this stuff. So it was a cool one.
That's so cool. So what was your first moment when you got to the majors, when you realized like, all right, I'm in the show now, like off the field? Maybe it's, I talked to guys who were like, I got on the plane and they offered me Chick-fil-A nuggets and I had whatever I want. And like, what was that moment for you when you're like, all right, like I'm not grinding in the minors no more?
Yeah. As soon as we took off in the plane, that was it. I mean, it was, I got called up. We were playing in Sacramento. So luckily, like, it was a short travel. So we were playing in Sacramento. I got told the night before. So the morning of September 11th, woke up, Ubered from Sacramento to Oakland, got in Oakland. They had a day game, and then we were traveling to go to Texas that next day. So like that whole first day, like my body is just vibrating. Like I couldn't stop it. I couldn't really like get a full breath the entire day. Walked into the Coliseum, and what's funny is like the first people that I saw were Shea Langoliers and Be My Own Machine. And these are two guys that I played in Vegas with for the whole year up to that point, really, until they both got called up, whatever. And I saw them, and it was like, I couldn't speak. Like, I was just like, hey, and they were like asking me a bunch of stuff like, oh, congrats. And I was like, yeah, like, okay. Like, I don't know. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Body just vibrating. Met so many different people, like front office people. Oh, we got to sign you this. We got to do your contract. Here's media people. I gave an interview. I like read clips of my interview. I have no idea, no recollection of what I said in the interview. I got out to the field for stretch, and that's when it like kind of felt normal, right? Because
Mhm.
at baseball, like yeah, you can play baseball anywhere, so that's it. Kind of felt normal. Go back inside and go back out for the game, and they were doing a celebration for Dave Stewart. They were retiring. I don't
Yeah.
know if they were retiring his number or doing something for Dave Stewart. But I remember just sitting there, and I was just like dripping sweat. And it wasn't because it was overly hot. It was just like, can we get this game started? Like it doesn't feel real yet. But I was just so eager and antsy to get the game started.
Yeah.
And then once the game started, it went right back into that Murph mode. It was like, don't let Murph get you. So the whole time I'm up and around, moving a whole bunch. Probably look like an idiot because Irvin shoved that day. And so like it was one of those things where it's like, why does anybody in the bullpen need to move around or do anything? It was against the White Sox. We ended up winning big.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like 11-1 or 11-3 or something like that. After the game, shower, get ready to go, and then get to the airport, walk right onto the plane. Coolest thing ever. Just pull right up, park, walk up the stairs, right on the plane. Didn't know where to sit. I just sat down on some random seat, and it wasn't until like the wheels like we took off of the ground that I just kind of was able to sit back and relax and be like, oh, like this is what the big leagues are like. Like, okay, now I get it. Because you hear people all the time like, oh, the travel is this. And I was always a guy like the travel in AAA never bothered me. Like, sure, you're flying to Southwest flights, but up until that point in my life, I'd never been on a charter plane, never done anything. So it was like, yeah, that's just normal. Like, yeah, you wait in the airport. That's totally fine. Oh, we're delayed. Like, yeah, that's normal. That happens to everybody. But yeah, there's no delays in the big leagues. So
I've seen a couple people get asked this before, and it's something that always interests me because I'm big on like gear and whatnot. Like especially playing, that was my favorite part of playing, is getting all the gear and being able to do whatever. And I've seen people say like the difference that you like, oh, you need a new sweatshirt. Here's 3 of them. Like, is it really like that in the bigs? Like let's say you need a shirt to work out in or something, or you got, I don't know, you don't have something there that you need. You can just walk in and grab it. Like, what is that like? Because I mean,
yeah, no, for sure. I remember I got to my locker. The first thing that I noticed, there were 2 pairs of pants, and then 2 jerseys of every color. And I remember thinking like, oh man, like, is there a mess up on one of them? I looked at every single one of them, like, these are all the same. And I think it was Shay, like, he kind of walked over and started laughing because our lockers were close to each other. He's like, well, you never had 2 pairs of pants before? I said 2. I said, I'm looking at 4. I'm looking at 2 grays, 2 whites. I got low socks, high socks, ankle socks, arm sleeves. I got 18 different, like, 3/4 full shirts, t-shirts, tank tops.
Welcome to the majors.
Anything you could ever want. I mean, they got it. And it makes it easier too. And you have really good clubhouse people, and Matty Weiss in Oakland is top tier. So he made everything, like the transition, really, really smooth in that regard. So
how cool is it that you made your debut against the Rangers, the team that drafted you?
That's an answered prayer. And that's how I know that I believe that God has a sense of humor, because
100%.
Obviously drafted by the Rangers, up with the Rangers. My love for all of that starts in my pre-draft visit, I guess, with the Rangers. They took me down, or didn't take me down. We drove down through a bullpen down there for their whatever pre-draft people. And then we went to a game, and we got there early enough to where, I don't know if you've ever been to a Rangers game, but Chuck Morgan, the PA announcer, has this thing where all of a sudden, at a certain point, it goes, it is baseball time in Texas. And he goes on and reads lineups. When I heard that as an 18-year-old, I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever heard in my life. And so I remember sitting in the stands, like just listening to that. And after we left, I kind of told myself then, I was like, man, like I want to make my debut. I want to hear that. Like, I want to hear it. It's baseball time in Texas on my debut.
So cool.
And obviously, fast forward now, was with the Rangers for all that time. Signed with the A's. Hey, you're going to the big leagues. Cool. That's great. Yeah, there's one game against the White Sox, and then the team leaves to go on the road. They go to Texas. I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, oh, okay, Texas. And I think it was Fran was like, they're going to Arlington. They play the Rangers. There's an off day, and they play the Rangers. And so the whole game sitting there against the White Sox is one of those things where it's like, am I going to get in? Like, man, I'd love to make my debut. But then at the same time, it's like, we're going to Texas. So obviously I didn't pitch against the White Sox. And then we had a day off. Then the Wednesday, I believe, started a 2-game series in Texas. I didn't pitch the first day, but I made sure to be out there early enough to where I could hear it's baseball time in
Yeah.
Texas. And then obviously that Thursday, they called down and say, "Hey, like you're going to the game." It was just kind of like a full circle thing, and it was like I said, that's why I know that God has a sense of humor because it's like, yeah, you're going to hear it, but you're going to be on a team that you didn't think you're going to be on. You're going to be on the visiting team when you hear it. So it was extremely, it was awesome and something I'll cherish for the rest of my life for sure.
It's awesome. So now, obviously, you played multiple big league games. Who would you say was like the coolest at bat that you've ever, like the guy you faced? Like obviously, some guys they say like they watch Albert Pujols growing up, and then now they were rookie last year. They threw against Albert Pujols, like surreal feeling. Like who's kind of a guy like that? If you even had one that you faced, and you're like, man, like this is how I know. This is another thing that just tells me like, yo, you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't really have the individual like you're talking about, but the sense that I felt like, okay, like it's starting to slow down and I can do this was we were in Houston and it was Yordan Alvarez and Alex Bregman back to back and was able to strike them both out to end the inning. Went with Yordan, it was cutter, curveball chase, and then Bregman had a really, really long at bat and then swung through a cutter for strike 3. And it was as I was walking up the field, I was able to take a deep breath and was like, okay, well, those are 2 of the best hitters in all of baseball. And you're just able to strike them out. Like, sure, whatever. And from that point, it was like, okay, like maybe I can do this, or like maybe we have a shot here. You know what I mean?
I mean, those are 2 guys that are definitely confidence boosts if you get them out.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, like I punched him. Like, no. Like I know they are great, but for me, it was just those things. It was like, damn, like those are 2 pretty good guys, and they went back to back. And now I'm walking off the field, and I'm like, okay, like we can do this. We can do this here. So.
After striking those 2 out, did you think to yourself like, you know, I might be kind of a dog at this? You know, I just struck out 2 of the I don't 2 of the best hitters in baseball.
I don't let myself get too far ahead of myself. But no, that was like the confidence boost. And then the next game after that was against the Mets, and that was probably the best game that I had in the big leagues. As it got stretched out, went 4.1 or something like that, like 1 run, but. That was like, it just kind of felt normal. That's when baseball felt normal. But it wasn't until after the Yordan Bregman back to back that everything kind of felt like baseball again.
How was it facing the Mets? Because they have a legit lineup.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think it was a lot of fun. It was just kind of one of those things. I remember Pete Alonso's up, and he took a big swing through one of the pitches, and it was just one of those things that's like, all right, like either he's going to get me, I'm going to be on SportsCenter, or like we're going to lock in and we're going to go to work here. And so that's how it felt for almost every single hitter up there. It was like, okay, like there's no more of like, okay, we're at the 8 hole. Like, okay, we can breathe a little bit until we get back to the top of the lineup. No, because that 8 hole in the big leagues is a 3 hole in every other minor league level. So, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's the way that baseball is supposed to be played. It's the purest form of baseball that I've ever been a part of, and I had a blast.
Now, I know he said, like, what was this is the show moment, like, off the field. What was your, like, wow, this is the show on the field? Is it kind of the Yordan Alvarez thing, or is there, like, something that maybe you missed? Maybe you threw a pitch and it was only a couple inches off your spot and it still left the yard, like, more than it should have. You know what I'm saying? Like, something like that.
When Jonah Heim got me in my debut, that was watching that ball leave. It looked pretty. From my point of view, literally just piped a 2-0 cutter right down the middle, right where it wasn't supposed to go. And he hit it. And I remember turning around and watched it. And I was just kind of like, damn, I'm watching this ball go in Globe Life Field, and the crowd's crazy. The fireworks are going off. And that was kind of like, oh, you're in the big league now, kid. Like,
can't miss your spot here.
100%. 100%.
That's awesome.
How was that feeling for your first strikeout? Do you remember who your first strikeout was?
Yeah, Mark Mathias was the first one. I went cutter, slider, and the 2 cutters that started off the at bat were probably, I don't think I could have like walked the ball and put it in a better spot.
Nice.
I was really, execution with that was really, really good. And then Leody Taveras, I'll never forget it because I love Leody Taveras. I'm a big Leody Taveras fan. He's one of my favorite teammates of all time. Second inning starts off with him, and I just throw like a little two seam, whatever, like get me over. He has taken the first pitch against me in almost every at bat I've ever faced against him, like live BPs, everything. I pitched against him earlier in that year when we were in Round Rock, taking everything. So I'm just like, oh, I'll just flip up a little two seam, hits a line drive, takes my head off, probably got the middle. And I remember looking over him at first base, and he just looked at me and just like smiled, like he knew, yeah, you thought I was going to take that, didn't you? Yeah, that was fun. And then the next big name, I guess, was Marcus Simeon. Was able to strike him out on a slider after a good at bat, and so it was just kind of all those things, just kind of I guess add to confidence and just piece by piece, kind of just build up your confidence and kind of remind you that hitting is still hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hardest thing to do in sports.
What's going on my screen?
And so if we don't give the hitters too much credit, their job in essence is a lot harder than ours. So
yeah. And you don't throw high velocity. How hard do you throw? Like what's the hardest you throw?
Like 92. The hardest I think was up to like 93.8 last year. I think was the hardest. Hopefully now with this new shoulder, I can get up there a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's always been just making it wiggle. But I think that's kind of what held me back. I think that's why I spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, because it's one thing you see guys that used to throw hard in the big leagues and now they don't throw as hard, but they already have that big league mantra, that big league status behind them. I think it's a lot harder for guys like me to break into the big leagues and like to get the opportunity, because now everyone, I mean, it's no secret. Everyone wants high velos, high spin rates. They want that nasty swing and miss everything, which almost goes against my philosophy on like my pitching, how I pitch completely. I want to force contact. I want to force the issue. I want to get you in an 0-2 count and make you uncomfortable, and then I want to put you away. So I think that me not throwing as hard as everyone else kind of held me back, but I think it also allows me to be kind of a weapon that you don't really get as much anymore.
Yeah. That makes sense. Who was your toughest at bat?
Eduardo Escobar from the Mets. I threw pitches to him that I had never seen, or the whole year last year, never saw like comfortable takes, never saw anything. And I mean, we're swinging at him like he knew they were coming.
Jeez.
And he ended up he lined out to left field, but I think it was like 110 off the bat or something like that. And I remember like watching him walk back, and I was like, dang, like I think I might have actually on the mound like tipped my hat, like, yeah, good for you. Like that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Wow. What has been your favorite city to play in?
I don't know. It's my big league. I just got the AL West tour when I was in the big leagues. But I was able to be in Seattle for one day. I think downtown Seattle is a lot of fun. Like where they put us is right in the action. So that was cool. Dallas was cool, but I had been in Dallas, obviously, played in Frisco and all that stuff. So I'd been there before. Houston was downtown. I'd probably say, I don't know. The hotel in Los Angeles is the best hotel I've ever stayed in my life. We stay right on the water, and we had our dogs with us. We walked the dogs down to the beach, and we did all that stuff. But the actual city, probably Seattle, I'd say.
Yeah.
Minor league, I don't know. Vegas is tough to beat. Everything about Vegas. Everything was about Vegas. Like the whole organization in Las Vegas, the Aviators, is first class. They take care of us so well.
I heard they had the best spread.
It was unbelievable. I mean, I can't say enough good things about everybody at the organization. So,
another thing I wanted to ask you real quick before whether we finish this up or whatever. Like most guys have like an influential person who got them into baseball. Who was that for you? Was it a player? Was it a family member? Like who was that guy that you either watched growing up and then like somebody who got you into the game?
Yeah, that was my dad. My dad was a high school coach. He retired 2 years ago now. But no, my first memories of baseball are being in the dugout with him as he's coaching. And then once I got old enough to realize like, oh, I can be pretty good at baseball, he was always the one that you want to go hit, you want to go throw, you want to go do whatever. He taught me how to throw a baseball. He taught me how to pitch. We've had multiple hour-long conversations about obviously like mental side of it. And he's been a big proponent in like we had spoke about before, like I'm not a big power guy, right? So I got to find other ways to get you out. And it comes down to like mental toughness and competing. And sure, you might get me one time, but I'm going to get you the next three or whatever. So he's been really influential in my life and doing all that kind of stuff. And yeah, he's the reason that I probably am where I am today. So
that's so cool. Let's end on this. What would be your advice to a younger you, or maybe even someone else who's grinding in the minors, or maybe even in high school, who's looking to get into baseball, looking to take it to that next level? What would your biggest advice be to them?
And for anybody in the minor leagues, keep going. Just keep playing. Keep play until they tell you that you can't anymore. Until they lock the door and they kick you out, because you just never know. Weird things happen all the time. I wouldn't have. My wife and I laugh all the time because before I got called up, like I think it was June and July in Las Vegas, over like 10 starts, I had like eight quality starts, had like ERA in the twos. And after that happened, I was like, man, I can't get called up when I'm pitching that good. Like, I'm never going. Like, that's it. After this year, I'm going to go play winter ball. I'm going to try to find a job in Korea or just somewhere. But like, I kept telling myself, like, man, like, I think I'm good enough to play in the big leagues. Fast forward to September 11th, and there you go. You're watching a big league game from the bullpen. So you just never know. As far as like a younger kid, don't make it your job until you have to. So many kids now at like young ages, like 12U tournaments, or man, like the coach is wearing kids out trying to win games and stuff. And it's like, it's not your job to win games yet. It's your job to have fun, to figure out if you even like baseball enough to pursue it. So, yeah, that'd be my biggest advice to both those kind of anybody in those two, I guess, genres of players. So,
well, yeah. Who was your favorite player growing up? Like, who was that one guy you always watched?
Zach Greinke. Just from Kansas City.
Cool.
Yeah. And cool story about that. He made a rehab start. My last start in Round Rock last year, he was coming down and made a rehab start for Sugarland. And so before whatever, I don't get starstruck. I'm not a big believer in all that kind of stuff, but he walked by me and I couldn't help myself. I had to walk up to him, but hey man, like, you're my favorite player when I was growing up. Like, thanks for everything that you've done for kids in the game. Like, you're like who he is and what he's gone through, I think speaks volumes. Yeah. Kind of like that first one to go through a lot of the stuff that he went through that nowadays is like normal, and it's good to talk about and get it out there. But he kind of went through that first. And so I remember I walked up and he probably looked at me like, oh, there's another like fanboy or whatever. But no, that was a cool moment for me to be able to just talk to him a little bit in person. So.
Are you an autograph guy? Like, were you able to get any make memorabilia from while you're up in the majors?
I regret it though, because I after the season ended, what I should have done was get a ball signed by any like guys I had played with before that I've played against in the big leagues. So like Jimmy Herget on the Angels, I played with him in Round Rock. Eric Swanson, was on the Mariners, played with him. So like guys like that, I should have had them sign something just to give it to me, but no, I'm not a big autograph, anything like that. But I was able to get a nice Stephen Vogt autograph ball.
I love Stephen Vogt. I absolutely love.
He is fantastic. He is top class, top of the top of the top of the top of the class. So
yeah, if there's one person anyone asked me, like, who do you want on the podcast? Like, I want Stephen Vogt like more than anybody.
Stephen Vogt is I mean, I can't say enough good things about him. But yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, were you there when he helped, or when he made the announcement that Jared Koenig was getting his call up? Because I know he played a part.
Yeah, in that. Yeah. He the whole AAA, he called the whole meeting. We thought it was just Fran, but yeah, Voter got up there in front of everybody. Everyone was just sitting in the locker room, and he's like, "Guys, I just want to let you know, like, thanks for taking me in here. Like, you made it seem like I was part of the community here in AAA. Like, I want you to know you guys have a really good clubhouse. Everything's good, yada yada yada." And then right at the very end, he's like, "Unfortunately, like, I got to head back to the big leagues, but good thing is Jared, you're coming with me." and everyone just kind of like,
That's awesome.
and then everyone just kind of went nuts, and it was really cool. But
That's
yeah,
so cool.
I forgot about that. That's a fun memory. That's a good voter memory.
Yeah, no, I love seeing Vo. Jared's a good guy too. I'm glad he got picked up by the Padres.
Yeah, for
Hyped
sure.
to see what he does over there. But hey, Collin, I want to thank you for coming on, man. Like, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Like I said, long time coming. Super
Yeah, for
hyped just
sure.
to chop it up with you, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens for you, man. Like, I'm a Collin guy now. Like, this is like I'm gonna be following you closely and see what happens.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Sorry it took so long to get on here.
No, it's all
Some
good.
unforeseen things were going on, so
Yeah.
no, but I really appreciate you having on. You guys are great, so thank you.